to focus on making budget robot vacuums. They've only been in the market for about 5 years, but already you feel like they are one of the big players in the robot vacuum world. Robots like the L70 or the 35C have always been really popular with reviewers in the budget range. But now, Eufy have given us something else, the L70, and this robot is a little bit different. You see, the L70 is Eufy's first attempt at taking on the flagship premium robots of this world. So to make the robot truly smart, they've added LiDAR instead of cameras for navigation purposes. And we like LiDAR. It uses lasers to physically hit an object with light and then measures the reflection. And this normally means the navigation is going to be pretty good. It has 2200 pascals of suction power, which is about right for premium robots these days. This robot has no go zone lines, it's smart home compatible, and you can program everything you want through a pretty decent app. On paper, it does look pretty good, but like all robot vacuums, you don't really know how it compares until you've tested it and lived with it. And that's what we're going to do in this video today.
Robots are a bit like people. Each one has its own personality and quirks, and you don't really know what it's like until you've lived with it. So that's what we do. We give you unbiased, objective reviews so that you can make your own decision.
So here's everything that comes in the box of the L70. Aside from the robot itself, of course, and the charging base, the only additional items are the waterproof pad and attachable mopping module. Before getting into the testing part of this video, it is worth saying that navigation is one of the most important features for robotic vacuums. This robot uses LiDAR, which just stands for light detection and ranging, and it's incredibly accurate. The same technology is used in self-driving cars, for example. LiDAR allows the robot to navigate around your house in basically straight lines. This is different from other budget robot vacuums, which tend to randomly clean your house until they run out of charge. So because this robot is constantly rotating, it always knows exactly where it is, right down to the centimeter. And this allows for cool app features like no-go zones, which we talk about later. Also, if the robot runs out of charge mid-clean, it's able to take itself back to base and resume cleaning from exactly where it stopped. One more thing to note is it uses AI mapping technology. Normally on RoboVacs, artificial intelligence or AI refers to object recognition and avoidance software. On the L70, however, it's actually just referring to these smart mapping features, which could be a little bit confusing if you're trying to compare these features. We put this robot in our test room to watch how it navigates. We did film the test run separately, so the map doesn't quite match up to the video, but it does give you an idea of what to expect if it was mapping out your home. Overall, we've been pretty impressed by the navigation. When you've watched as many robots as we have, you can tell how smart the navigation is by how predictable the movements of the robot are. The L70 chose to segment the room exactly how we'd expect, and you can see on the map here what it does on its mapping run. It was more gentle on the walls and furniture than most other robots, and it didn't get lost or stuck. Some other robots have, because our test room has a few particularly tricky spots, especially around the keyboard. The stands and pedals are perfectly shaped to confuse a robot. As you can see though, it did spend a little longer than necessary around the piano chair legs. It covered pretty much everywhere and was overall quite methodical. Most of the time it's very methodical and quick, but occasionally it does circle phantom objects. This doesn't result in it getting lost or anything major, but it can look a little bit odd if you're not expecting it. It took 22 minutes to clean the main room, which is pretty good. When cleaning a large house, as noted earlier, the auto recharge function means the robot's able to continue from where it left off if it needs to recharge mid-clean. Overall, watching the grid lines on the map as this robot navigates was pretty impressive. We thought this was one of the standout features of the L70. We put this robot through a series of pretty difficult tests to see what it could really do. Here we test the sound levels on quiet and max mode, Even on the max mode, the L70 is only half as loud as the average handheld vacuum cleaner. We then tested its suction on the hard floors. We scattered instant coffee across our test floor. It picked up about 90% of the coffee. On the Fruit Loops test, it also picked up 90%. You do see it missed one orange Fruit Loop in the middle because the side brush flicked it across. In terms of mopping, all of the grape juice was mopped up on the first pass, but it did need 2 passes to get the soy sauce. We think it still did quite well because obviously soy sauce is quite sticky, but there was a small spot left on the top corner. We then tested its suction on the carpet. We measured out 20 grams of Fruit Loops and it picked up 100% of the Fruit Loops. It definitely crushed some of the Fruit Loops up as it rolled over them, but we thought it was impressive how it still got those ones. On the hard floors, you see how much it picks up, but on the carpet, we have to weigh the dustbin contents before and after to make sure our tests are kept accurate. On the hair test, 85% of the long hair that we scattered round was picked up. It did miss one clump at the top, and again we think this test was pretty difficult, but we were impressed with how much hair it did get. Seeds can also be quite tricky, but it got 95% of the unrealistic amount of linseeds we threw at it, so we were impressed by that. In regard to the dog bowl test, we wanted to see how the L70 would avoid obstacles around the house that you may not want to be moving all the time. It was quite gentle in terms of avoiding the dog bowl. Once the lasers sensed that the bowl was there, it was able to smoothly clean right around the bowl, and we thought that looked quite cool. It's always interesting to see how robots clean corners and edges of the house. Here, the single side brush flings a fair bit of debris across its front, but since the robot covers the edges and corners of a mapping run first, theoretically things should get picked up when the robot then turns to the center of the room. Sometimes the robot acted up when cleaning a glass edge. We think this is because the LiDAR sometimes sees through the glass and doesn't recognize that there's a wall there. This can easily be fixed with adding a no-go zone on the app or putting in some boundary tape. Lots of people worry about the robot falling off stairs or ledges in your home. Don't worry about that. The L70 has drop sensors that will make sure it doesn't fall off anything. We should note that if you have a lot of long-haired individuals in your home, long hair tends to roll around the brush. It's quick and easy to remove with the cutting tool, but it's good practice not to let it build up too much. The dustbin is 480 mils, which is around average for premium robots. The water tank sits on top of the dustbin and holds 180 mils. Together, they sit quite nicely inside the robot. We think this mop is perfect for cleaning up fresh spills and maintaining a nice, clean floor. But keep in mind, it's not really designed for mopping up old stains that take a lot of effort to remove. You'll also want to clean the mopping pad every now and then if it's cleaning up some strong smelling liquids. The app user experience is actually quite nice. Just make sure you're close to Wi-Fi and the robot when you're trying to connect everything together. As shown earlier, watching the map being built is satisfying. We note that the L70 can only map one floor at a time though. Once the map is created, you can add no-go zones where you mark out places you don't want the robot to go. You can add no mop zones to stop the robot automatically mopping carpet. It's important to note that the mop function will automatically engage when you attach the mopping pad, so make sure that's not on if you're trying to vacuum carpet. You can also make scheduling times, which sets the robot to automatically clean at certain times. It doesn't have zone cleaning, which would be nice, but you can work around that. The app can be used with Alexa or Google Assistant as well, so one step closer to having an entirely smart home. So as you've seen, we've spent some time with this robot and we've put it through some pretty hectic tests. It performed actually quite well in all of them. It got between 85 and 90% in the cleaning tests, so if you use this 2 to 3 times a week in your home, your house is likely to be cleaner than it ever has before. The mop is also a pretty cool bonus feature. Not perfect, but it actually does quite a good job. The navigation is smooth, consistent, and methodical. It's actually quite enjoyable to watch. I'm not sure if that came across in the videos, but the way it moves through the house is satisfying. We also thought that the app was pretty cool, so that's something you don't always get with robot vacuums. It's sleek, it's smooth, it sounds actually quite nice. Overall, we think it's a great robot. So if you have a single level home, about 4 bedrooms, you've got maybe a kitchen or some lino or tiles that need mopping 2 to 3 times a week, this robot is probably perfect for you.